How many of you here have heard of Storj Labs? Okay, that's good. All right. Well, I've got some good news. We have finally delivered on our promise to deliver a world-class network after 5 years. We've been talking about it, so finally we've done it. And today, so thank you. Um, we, um, we have created a network which is more secure, more performant, and half the cost of Amazon Web Service S3. So we're really proud of that. And the engineering team has just done a tremendous job. Last year, or 2 years ago, when we launched version 2 of our network, it was about 150,000 nodes in 180 countries and territories, storing about 150 petabytes of data. And we realized that it just wasn't going to be able to scale to the exabyte range. So we had to do a total rewrite when we saved the data that we still had on the network, but the entire code base was rewritten by JT Olio's under his leadership. And I'm happy to say it works extremely well today. And I'm going to basically walk you through at a high level, not only kind of from an engineering perspective, I'm more of a business guy, but also our go-to-market strategy, where I think that we're really doing a great job. So, today, if you look at kind of the way that storage is it's very chunky across the world, and we're kind of our thoughts are, why can't it look more like the internet does on a totally distributed basis? This is kind of a depiction of our V2 network, which was across 180 territories. So we think that the V3 of our network will end up being orders of magnitude more dense than this. So we anticipate millions of nodes across a similar number of countries, because that's how many countries there are in the world. But we're actually also putting boxes in the North and South Pole, which is kind of cool. And again, we're really competing on three dimensions. The first being security, end-to-end encryption. The second being performance, and the third being cost. Our goal is to build the world's largest, most secure and performant cloud storage network without owning or operating a data center or even any files ourselves. So how does it work? So there's three elements. The uplink is where the client basically uploads the files. Then there's satellites, which basically store the metadata for those files. And then there's the storage nodes, which actually store the files. So basically, we never touch the data. So it's encrypted client side, and then it's basically sent directly to the storage nodes. And the only thing that the satellite holds, and today we're the primary satellite, but in the future there'll be many satellites all over the world that will also be able to store that metadata quite effectively on their own and compete with us using the storage protocol. We have started another business called Tardigrade, which is our basically S3 compliant or comparative service that's underwritten with SLAs, and so our satellites will be Tardigrade compliant. So basically, we encrypt the data, we shred the data, then we distribute the data, and do this on a massive scale. So some snows are better than others, as Game of Thrones, you might know. We try to align incentives with our community members and such that they act in a way that helps the network the most. And the most important thing is having high amount of uptime, so above 99%, and then you'll start to get a lot of shards and start to get paid based on your participation in the network. And the way it works, storage, there's the amount you get paid just to store the data, but then also if the data is called, you get paid more. So if you have good bandwidth as well as having high quality storage, you'll end up getting paid a lot more on a monthly basis. So again, these are the dimensions that we're currently working towards. And on the performance side, our CEO, Ben Golub, who's the former CEO of Docker, he released a blog posting yesterday about some of the performance elements. So I just thought I'd take you through those at a high level. So file durability, so not losing files, is the most important thing. For us, basically, to go into production, probably in the next 45 days, we have to have 9 nines. So that's very little amount of downtime. Our current status is 100%, so we have yet to lose a file. since V3 has been up. So that's partially why it's in beta today. The way we do that is each file, and this gets into a little bit later, but each file is broken into 80 pieces. Those are encrypted, and then those are basically sent out to 80 nodes. And then, so basically, in order to reconcile that file, we only need 29 of the 80 pieces. So you can imagine those 80 nodes are across different types of infrastructure and different geographies, different ISPs. And so the likelihood of over 50 of those going down, to lose the file in a certain short period of time is actually quite low. And then when it gets below, say, 60%, we start to actually repair the file. So it's kind of a self-healing network. In terms of service availability, we're currently at 99.95, and we need to get to 99.995. In terms of retrievability, we're 99.3, and we need to get 99.9. Right now, we're as fast as AWS, both on the download and upload. When we launch in the next 45 days, we're going to be 20% faster on both. Right now, we've got about 2 petabytes on the network. That's quite small for us because at our peak in the V2, we were 150, and we're going to launch with 6 petabytes across about 5,000 nodes. And right now, we're about 1,500 nodes. So those are the performance. As you can tell, right now today in beta, we have as good performance as S3. We're basically launching with half the cost because we don't have to build $600 million data centers in order to deliver our service. We can basically take all this latent supply globally, and we think it's measured in zettabytes. We estimate that basically 25% of all disk drives today have a spare capacity that can be married into an incentivized marketplace. So we think that there's 510 zettabytes, which, to put it into context, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are measured in the hundreds of exabytes. So just like Airbnb has way more rooms than Marriott, Hyatt, and Hilton combined, we think that we can bring into an incentivized marketplace a much larger data set than Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. The security element, we never touch your files. We only have your metadata. We never have access to your files. And so your data security really becomes a key management problem. So as long as you manage your keys, then your data is fine. Moreover, if someone was to able to get your keys and be able to decrypt your data, they'd still have to find those 80 chunks, which will be across 180 countries. And then, so that's pretty much that. So basically we feel like this, because each file has its own hash and is basically encrypted in a way such that it can be shared. This really is going to open up a lot of new business models that currently don't exist today. So imagine a world whereby you control your data and you haven't given your life over to Facebook so they can monetize it for their shareholders and buy Zook, another island in the Caribbean. And you basically, all of a sudden, you're able to share your data and get some sort of benefit from it. And so we think that a lot of people will use our data structures in a way that they can build new applications that are going to be kind of claw back privacy from people, but also do things in a more innovative way than they're currently being done in the centralized cloud space. Yep. And so sorry, go ahead. Yeah, we're almost done. Yeah. Okay, so one important thing is we're S3 compatible, so it's basically plug and play out of S3. And then macaroons are really cool things. They allow for really granular sharing of data down to the file level. Use cases, we have, basically we're best suited for large objects, but in any case for static content as opposed to dynamic content. So basically pictures, videos, and that's mostly where files are growing and the growth of data being stored on the web. One of the very cool things is we've aligned ourselves with the open source community. So 75% of all payloads are being delivered by open source projects, and then those payloads are being monetized by Amazon, Google, Microsoft through cloud storage and compute. And we've basically flipped that model around where we're giving them 10% of our revenues into perpetuity in order for them to send us data. And that's going to create more viable open source projects globally. And yeah, so that's basically it. We're live. We're going to compete heads up with Amazon. I think we've got a great product and a great go-to-market strategy, and I think you'll see us being increasingly active in the Web 3.0 space. We've been super heads down on product, and really haven't been that focused, quite frankly. But we'll start to see. We're going to make an announcement in Osaka at DevCon. Around the interoperability space. And so I think you'll start to see us become more active in this area, and we look forward to collaborating with you. And if anybody has any questions, please give me a shout right after the presentation. Thanks so much.